Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Pepper.
And today we're giving our first impressions of Glow, which it's glowing black and white. You are seeing that right. But yeah, this is a game that during it was like an Amazon Prime Day or something, they had some deal on it. I was just looking at Board Game Geek threads to kind of see if anyone had seen any really good deal or whatever. Because I'm usually not that good at searching the Amazon board game deal days, so I'm not very good at finding them. So usually on Board Game Geek they do a pretty good job. And this was one that just kept coming up. People kept saying it, even though I'd never heard of the game before. So I was like, okay. I mean, I don't remember what the price was, but it's a pretty good price for a game, considering so many people were saying that it was solid. And yeah, I had to try it. I didn't know much about it, but I was excited because of what everyone else had said.
Yes,
and Pepper was definitely excited.
I knew absolutely nothing about this one until I saw that cover for the first time, and I was immediately very excited about it. It's such a striking, just that black and white cover, amazing artwork, and the creatures there. I was very excited for the game, and we both knew absolutely nothing about how to play it.
Actually, I knew
we're both very excited about it for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but
yeah.
It's Vincent Dutrait and Ben Basso doing the artwork, which Vincent Dutrait, stick to black and white. I love his black and white one. Well, this is his. I don't know, maybe this is Ben. I don't know what Ben's artwork typically looks like either, but if Vincent Dutrait was involved, I think he needs to do more black and white. Because I prefer that personally, but... not meaning to take shots, sorry. But yeah, if you want to see some of the components and stuff in the box, check out our unboxing video. And you get to see maybe a little bit of color in there.
Yeah,
so
a little bit of color,
check that out.
It's got a lot of dice.
Check
and
that
the
out.
dice are pretty colorful. And yeah, the kind of the gameplay is there's a map that you can kind of traverse around. But most of it centers on the cards that you draft, and you roll some dice, and they allocate to their different sections based on their outcome, and
Grand Austria Hotel or Pulsar 2849 or other games like that. Sorry.
Yeah, and then you have kind of a card placed at each of those locations, and you draft those cards. So you take the card, and you take all the dice that are with it, or so you might get 3 or 4 dice. They stay there from round to round. As well, if they're unclaimed, and maybe you get less dice or possibly no dice, but then there is a movement token for that map that is put out when there are no dice at that location, so you do get something each time you take it, and sometimes you will want a lot of dice, and sometimes you won't want dice based on what your cards are, because you're kind of building an engine or a set of different actions that you can fire off with those dice, and sometimes they want certain symbols, sometimes they do not want specific symbols, and so something like I had it where I didn't want green, and I didn't want green and blue, and if I didn't have any of those, the one would be 3 points, the one would be 4 points, so I really did not want any green dice or any blue dice. Pretty much don't really want a lot of dice, because every dice can roll every color. It's just, if it's that color, it has 2 symbols of that on the dice. So it is interesting to think about that more dice is not always better, but definitely sometimes if you're fine with anything, more dice is probably the best way to go, and I love that you roll them, and it's similar to Point Salad, it made me think of, where you're fulfilling sets, and once you use it for one set, you can still use that same symbol for another set, so it's not like you're actually spending it. You're keeping it, and it's just really satisfying when you can get some overlap in the requirements for the cards, kind of like I did with not wanting green in 2 of my cards, or you could go it the other way where you do want, I think I had that as well, where I wanted the clouds in 2 different of my cards. So if you can get some overlap, that can be really satisfying if you get a good roll.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think I like that the best out of... that's probably the most interesting thing in the game, I would say, is being able to score those multiple times, and trying to get a good combo of all those. Kind of a little bit of an engine, sort of, in a way, if you are getting similar ones that work together, because then you're looking specifically maybe for those types of dice. and you start with a specific one, which kind of gives you a little bit of a variable player power feel from the start. Because like I had 2 large orange dice to start the game. You had 3 red dice, so you were more likely from the start to roll some flames, and I was more likely to roll some gems. So looking for those cards specifically, if we could get something that required those, that would be a good card to get. And yeah, I really like that. I liked how, as you went on, you kind of knew what you were looking for, because there is a board in this game that you will be also utilizing those dice once you've used them to activate any of your cards that you can. You use those same dice to kind of move along these tracks, because there's the different types. So like the flame or the gem or the leaf or whatever, to kind of get into different areas and get some bonuses there, and then potentially score some end game points as well. I would say that part though felt to me like there's 2 sides of the board, and I would definitely be interested in playing this one again and playing with the other side of the board just to see how that felt.
Yeah, we played with kind of the forest one or whatever.
Yeah.
And, the other side utilizes islands and boats and things like that.
But in ours it kind of felt like we were pretty easily able to get to kind of the highest end game scoring thing, and then there were some bonuses you get, which is like this Firefly bonus, which you can get some extra bonus points at the end of the game if you get enough of them. Otherwise they're really worth nothing. And there's some re-rolls that you can get, re-roll bonuses. But otherwise, once you've gotten to that spot, really not too much on the board that you need. And we both got there with like maybe a round or two left. So it kind of felt like we were sort of just kind of moving around.
I think I ended up just running around to try to get either fireflies, or there's one that you can get rid of a card, and possibly if you have negative points on the card, then that could be good to get rid of.
That's right.
But yeah, I do feel like I really love the movement around.
I do love that.
I love that.
I agree.
I want to see that in more games, but I feel like the rewards, and maybe it's just because we're new to the game and don't really know what to value, because I was kind of decided by my die rolls where to go at the start.
That's true.
But the way I went, I didn't really get a lot of bonuses along the way, and just ended up going pretty much straight for that final kind of area for those 20 points at the end. So maybe I should have touched on a lot of different bonuses along the way, and that would have made the game easier if I'd gotten more reroll tokens, but I don't know, I just feel like there wasn't really much drawing me to those locations.
I don't think so.
And then at the end where I did want to get it, it was so hard to even get to something. You could pretty much only get to 1 or maybe 2 things. So I do wish there was more rewards, and who knows, maybe we played something wrong, but
that's right.
I do really love that core movement system.
I
just love the whole flow of it, of using the dice for all of your cards to activate, and then carrying those same dice, that same roll, and using those then for the map movement. And then something's not great over here, it could be great over here, and vice versa.
Right. And then knowing that those same symbols for the small ones are going to be placed back on the board in those specific columns for the next time. So if you've rolled a lot of the same thing, you're going to be making that spot juicy the next time.
Yes.
And there was, now I remember, there was, when we talked about a little bit, if this was being played at 3 or 4 players, we were thinking we might not get as many dice. So it might be harder to move around then. We did play at 2 players, so maybe that's the reason why we were able to move around the board so easily. So take that into account. We play a lot of our games 2 to 3 players, so I don't think there was any adjustments for different player counts that I remember. So maybe in that case it would have been harder to move. It would have made it a little bit more interesting. But it did kind of feel like at 2 it was pretty easy. But otherwise, I really love how they could make you do so much with those same dice, and it's still each piece feels cool. And it just works so well. Flows really
flows
easily.
And glows.
Flows and glows, it does. But I would say after one play of this, depending on kind of how that movement piece would feel, because it is, like we said, it is cool. I like that you're using the different symbols to move on the map.
It's really satisfying.
But it's just
if you get the right layout, you can zoom across.
Yeah, it is really cool. And it just I wish there was a little bit more to kind of go for in there.
Yeah.
At 2 players anyway. Like I said, maybe at 3 or 4 it feels different. But yeah, I like it quite a bit. I'm probably coming in at around a 9 for this one. I like it a lot, actually. I like what this one does a lot, and I think there's like one sort of take that black die potentially, but we actually in a 2-player game you draft one and then you get rid of one. We kind of the person that was drafting during the round that came out, because there's only one card that does it, got rid of it. So we never had to play with the black die. So I don't know how that actually feels.
Oh, yeah.
So that might have changed some things. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that might have. Coming in a little lower here, I got still a great score of 8.25, and like I said, I just really love the dice. Pretty much any way you activate the dice in this one. But I do think that based on your rolls, it's not the easiest to manipulate your
That's
dice.
true. There's not much manipulation.
I mean, it didn't feel bad throughout the game, mostly because later on when it really mattered, I did get the dice rolls that I needed. But early on, like if you have 3 dice that aren't your way, and a reroll token can roll up to 2 dice, and so you're taking the chance, okay, do I spend this? And if you don't have those, you can go back on the score track.
I do like that. I do like that quite a
option
bit. I do like that.
So you can lose points to go back to the next threshold that has a reroll token on it.
That kind of depends where you are on the track too, because
Yes.
sometimes you're giving up 1 point, sometimes you're giving up 4 to do it. But it might be worth it.
It might be worth it. But then, that's for a chance to roll
Yeah, you don't even know.
2 of them. So maybe if you have just 1 die that you need to change, it could be worth it if it's going to gain you like 4 or 5 points. But if you do just get a roll where it's
The
like,
manipulation isn't.
there's 3 things that I can't have that I have, and that's going to cost like 7 points to do it, so I'm probably just going to accept it and kind of do nothing this round, and
That's fair.
possibly how you're lined up on the map and the cards you have, you could pretty much do nothing the entire round.
That's true.
So that's one thing that's holding it back slightly for me, because it did happen a couple early on, where I wouldn't really have done much anyway, but and thankfully in the end I did get what I needed at the very end. The last couple rounds were really awesome.
Big chunk of points.
Yes, but that is something to note.
Yep. Yeah.
And
that's totally fair.
maybe did play something wrong, or maybe weren't as risky. Definitely should have probably gone around the map, like I said, and gotten more of those reroll tokens to have the freedom to do that. So I think
that's true.
is part gameplay on my part.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I didn't see that as much, but I did have, like, my first one that I drafted had a bonus of being able to reroll once around. So that, I will say, that definitely gave me a feeling of more kind of freedom, a little bit more to, reroll if they were kind of bad result. So I did have that, so maybe that kind of played into my experience a little bit. But yeah, I'm still a solid game. And yeah, like I said, we got the unboxing video, but otherwise, if you've made it this far and enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up and a subscribe. We definitely appreciate it. But otherwise, we hope to see you on other videos. And as always, don't forget to
Keep on nibbling
on our content.